The zero rating now to tax exempt is targeting two of those areas. If we want to look at cane, whereby you're saying the transportation of cane from farms to milling factories is now going to be tax exempt. That means you can charge on it.
Yes.
That's agriculture. If you look at feeds, inputs or raw materials, when you look at your sunflower seed cake that is used for making mash for whether it's poultry or cattle or dairy farming, the input or raw materials purchased or imported for the manufacture of animal feeds also now tax exempt, still agriculture. Medicine, inputs or raw materials supplied to pharmaceutical manufacturers in Kenya for manufacturing medicine. When you look at things like magnesium stearate, which is in everything, whether it's in saline, whether it's in your headache medicine, basic medicine has that component. What they're saying now is that we're going to move it from zero rated to tax exempt. Again, phones, service industry, locally assembled and manufactured mobile phones will now go from zero rated to tax exempt. Transport, electric buses, which we've been touting about for the longest time, a select category of motorcycles and electric bicycles, which help the environment because now there's no combustion, which had been seen as though you want to bring that in again to help the economy, now also will be tax exempt and not zero rated. It seems as though the part of the economy which you want to thrive, service industry and agriculture, are the areas which we're now saying, let's tax them. And we already know that you cannot tax your way to development. It doesn't seem as though these elements in the finance bill, these ones that I'm speaking about, are actually going in a economy-facing direction. Or was it necessary for these two areas to then be looked at to be able to get more money? Unfortunately,
all our finance bills are not normally focused in growth of economy. If you look at how they're presented, I say this because 70% of households in Kenya rely on agriculture. If you look at our economic survey, data shows that one of the sector that grew least is agriculture. And that is why a lot of people struggle because even disposable income is not available. So when you go back to the same sector and you are heavy on both direct and indirect taxation, means that sector will not grow. So we actually, the CS Treasury and Planning is shooting his both feet because you'd want the households to grow their earning, okay? But now, instead of putting those measures that will make that happen, then we go south. Number two, if you look at our industrialization, our manufacturing sector, also in terms of growth, when the manufacturing sector does not grow, means even agriculture is affected because there is aspect of value addition. And one of the sector that had difficulties in growth is manufacturing. And also, if you looked at loan defaults, in fact, manufacturing was way above the industry average of 15% of non-performing loans. Why? Because the sector is struggling. Number three, the other avenues where the country would get resources like carbon trading. You know, that's a new trade where you get a lot of resources. However, if you look at now the new taxation regime on electric everything, you know, we're looking for a quick gain to get the money than the long-term gain, where now the country can say, look, this is how much we're earning from the credit, trading. So until when we are doing finance bill, we look at the economic aspect than revenue collection. I think that is what must change when looking, and even when we are budgeting. We should not necessarily be budgeting So, we should not all necessarily, when you're looking at the finance bill, is that we want to correct as much from the new innovation and all that. We need to look at the impact, the outcome in the long term.
Because that's what we're saying now. So if you have cane, because the folks who have to move cane from the farm to the processing mill, and there's going to be some added tax on that, what's going to happen is that your byproduct, which sugar, by the way, okay, so your